Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thought I'd do an update on the car. I know it's been a little while since I posted anything. Um, Sorry for the delay. I know some of you guys that watch my stuff, you're curious where the build's at and what's been going on with it. So I'm going to take this as a chance to update you guys on everything about the car, where it's at to this point, and what I got going on. So it's running on the turbo and everything, and it's been tuned. And what I'm up to right now is I'm out here upgrading the radiator. So the old one was the half-size radiator, and what ended up happening was it probably wasn't as much of a problem with the radiator as it was my billet swivel neck thermostat housing. And so what happened was when I took this apart, so down there's where the thermostat goes, and whenever I took that apart, the thermostat was just floating around in there. So there's a little circlip on those Chinese billet thermostat housings. That circlip came undone, and so the thermostat wasn't doing its job. This is something that's kind of been going on for a little while as far as the thermostat not working, but I just hadn't had a chance to drain the coolant system or cooling system and find out what's going on. And when I came to the point in time where I was going to tear it apart and find out what was going on with the thermostat, I really didn't care to mess with the billet thermostat housing. I was pretty much over it. I knew it was having some sort of an issue, and I wanted to do something different. So before tearing into it this time, I went ahead and bought this radiator and bought 2 new fans to go with it. And then I also decided to just go with the thermostat from the factory for this motor. And so the K24, let me pick it up. The K24A2 factory thermostat from Honda is what I decided that I'd go ahead and put back onto this engine. The original reason for going for the billet housing was, for one, when I picked the motor up from the junkyard, the original thermostat was busted, so I never even had a chance to use it. But the other reason was using the billet housing allowed me to put the fan switch into the thermostat housing, and so I didn't have to find another spot to put that. But now that I'll be running the stock one, I won't be able to put the fan switch in at the thermostat. But this radiator I got, it's for an 03 Civic Si, so the EP3 Civic. And so it's actually got a location down at the bottom of the radiator for the fan switch. It's hard to see from here, but it's down there in the bottom left corner. So the fan switch will just plug directly into the radiator now, and so now I can go back to a factory thermostat. The problem was I didn't realize that on this K24, when you put this thermostat in, it's actually pointing up like this, and so it made it really awkward for trying to fit a hose and then shoot that hose down. And so what I ended up doing in order to make this one work, because I wanted to use the OEM thermostat because I just didn't want to have any more thermostat issues in the future, I ended up making a part. So that's what I'm currently up to. This is an adapter plate that I just made it work. So normally the thermostat would go like this and point up, but now with this adapter plate, I'll be able to clock it and rotate it to this orientation, and so it'll point down. So let me grab this here. So this here, with this mounted onto that, what I'll be doing is mounting this plate into the thermostat housing and then bolting this onto that plate. So that'll allow it to point down, and it'll make routing this lower radiator hose a lot cleaner and simpler. That's really, this cooling issue has been the major delay, because after getting the car tuned, I really couldn't drive it for more than about 30 minutes, and it would get up to about 210 and it just really wouldn't recover. So if I was doing any pulls on it, it was having a hard time. It really wasn't coming really back down from temps. So that's, a big reason why I haven't been, posting or updating. But now that I've got the parts to fix this cooling issue and getting rid of the old radiator, it should just fully address all the issues. So that's what's going on. I know I really didn't do a whole lot of content on during the process while going turbo. So if you guys want, I can kind of recap a little bit right here if you want to keep watching. So the motor and the build, all that's covered in my previous videos. I went over the parts list when I was unboxing them, but the over basic view here, we got, this is a Rev 9 turbo. It's a T3 flange with a PLM turbo manifold, single 44mm wastegate. The turbo's a 6662, and so it's running 2.5-inch intercooler piping. The intercooler is $100 eBay intercooler. It goes in the same side that it exits, you can see there. And I was able to keep as much of the factory grill and plastic webbing in these fog light openings and then this front opening, just to try to keep kind of a cleaner look. But so anyways, on top of that, one of the things I ran into, so the way I ended up doing the tuning on this car was through eTunes. So I was able to do everything just through email back and forth. And so I would hook the laptop up to it, install or upload a base map that the tuner had sent me. I'd do a pull, data log it, and then send him the results. He would tweak the tune and then make some more changes. Some of the problems I had during the process of tuning the car, one problem, which isn't a tuning related thing, but I've got down here, my blow-off valve wasn't opening, and so that's one of those things. It was like a super cheap $20 eBay blow-off valve, nothing fancy. Well, anytime, like with your wastegate, or now knowing with the blow-off valve, you get some sort of a cheap Chinese thing like that, you really need to disassemble it and really just go over everything, make sure it's going to function properly. When I took it apart, the rubber diaphragm on the blow-off valve was actually, not only was it pinched, but it was upside down. It was just not even assembled close to being right. So anyways, the blow-off valve wasn't opening at first, which when I was on low PSI, it really didn't matter. But as I started to turn the boost up, I needed to get that to open. So I had to take that apart, rebuild the blow-off valve, and then that was fixed. Another issue I ran into was the map sensor, and I'm not sure that it was the map sensor that was the problem, or if it was the fact that I was getting a poor connection. But originally I had a cheaper 4-bar map sensor, and we were having a little bit of an issue, so I ended up buying this Honda 4-bar map. And shortly after, I realized that when the hood was closing, it was actually pushing down and actually causing this connection to be poor. So I had to secure this and really, get that to keep from coming loose. So little issues, but when you're tuning, these sort of things kind of pop up. Another issue was I originally put the Deechworks 2200cc injectors in this, and when we first started tuning, we were just on 91 octane pump gas, and it really was hard. At that time, it was a little bit colder out, and it's a little warmer now, but anyways, it was hard to even get the car to idle. It was so rich, and at a minimum duty cycle, we just struggled. And I know that it's possible to make them work, and I don't know, I might have had other issues causing that. It could have been the map sensor giving false readings. Anyways, the tuner said, you know, for the power that you're hoping to make, anywhere between 500-600, is capable on I think they're the 1200 or 1300 cc Deechworks injectors. So I ended up swapping those out, and those were a big change for just, you know, low RPM driving, partial throttle cruising, idle, all that stuff. So I've got, you know, the two sets of injectors. Of course, one's in the car, and then the other 2200s, I pulled them out. Another thing, so to be able to up the boost, what I've got is a Honda 4-port boost solenoid, or actually it's a Mac, it's not the actual Honda brand. And so that's hooked up right here. So you've got a couple vacuum lines coming from the wastegate, and then a source vacuum from the turbo. That allows, through the Honda K-Pro, for the boost to be increased. So that was kind of a neat thing, hooking that up and calibrating the boost solenoid. That was kind of interesting, but Humble Performance has a good video on how to set up your boost control or your boost solenoid through K-Pro. So that helped me out quite a bit. Let's see. That's pretty much it, I think, for any sort of issues I ran into during tuning. Of course, when I went turbo, I rerouted my fuel system. So going turbo, I've got the feeds coming from the filter right there, and then an AN line that runs around here and feeds in on this side. And then I've got, of course, the fuel pressure gauge, and then it feeds out of the rail over to the regulator, and then just returns from the regulator. Something I did also was I put in it's a GM flex fuel sensor down there, so that can allow the computer to monitor the ethanol content. So you can run flex fuel, you can run E85, and that's something that right now I decided I'm just going to stay on pump gas. We did start some E85 tuning, but I don't know. It's something that I'm going to wait till I can get the car on a dyno before I try to reintroduce that. The tuner was having some suspicions that maybe the sensor was misreading. Anyways, it was kind of a hassle, and the car made really good power on 91 for, you know, being on the street. So I just was like, screw it, I'm just going to stay on 91 for now. If I get the car down to a tuning shop, we can hook it up on the dyno, and I need to make some more power, I can always, you know, at that time I can mess with the flex fuel. So the tires, I did upgrade those at the same time as getting ready to start tuning the car. They're Toyo Proxys R888, and the size, let's see if I can see. Okay, so they're 205, 50, 15 is the size. I picked those up at Discount Tire, and these tires actually hook really well. So I put those on the front, and then I left the tires I had on before on the rear. So I used to have these tires all the way around. They're just Toyo Extenza HP, nothing crazy. But whenever I had these tires back here on the front, when it was all motor, it would spin first through second, and it would even you know, like chirp third. And so those tires I knew were not going to work well for going turbo. Now these tires here, I know I mentioned the boost solenoid earlier. The importance of that was I wanted to be able to hook up on the street, being front wheel drive, and so the boost solenoid I've got to where I'm running in first and second gear, I'm running 6 to 7 psi of boost, and then in third gear up, it's running 10 pounds of boost. And so, anyways, right now this will spin first and second, and, like, you know, chirp third or whatever, spin a little bit at the beginning of third. but it's still pulling while it's spinning. And so it's about as tame of a setup as you can make, with this sort of a turbo setup and, pretty minimal boost. I'm only on 6 or 7 pounds in first and second. So I can't control the boost down any lower than what the wastegate spring is. So being that it's got, 7-pound spring in it, that's the minimum that I can run. So that's why I'm able to run in first and second gear. And it pulls pretty good, even though it is still spinning. So that's nice. But yeah, that's pretty much an update on what's been going on with it, since it's been turboed. Once I'm finished with this radiator install and I've got to go get another radiator hose for the lower, because everything's kind of changed positions. But once I get all that done, the car should be a lot more enjoyable because I don't have to limit my time that I can be out, cruising around. So also when I went turbo, I went ahead and hooked up this vacuum distribution block so I can access multiple ports for vacuum. So that kind of came in handy, just for cleanliness. And so for those of you guys that haven't seen the inside of the car or been able to check that out, here's inside. Up in here I've got oil pressure, boost, and then an air fuel ratio gauge. So that's that. Don't mind this. This is just a little seat heater for the winter time. I need to take that out. It's pretty hot now. So this is a street car. So I like to kind of, keep it somewhat enjoyable. Back here I've got a 12-inch sub and a couple of 6x9s. So have a little bit of music while we're cruising. But yeah, that's pretty much it for an update on the car. The whole point of this car was just to keep it as a street car, keep it, looking somewhat like a regular, street cruiser, and just try to keep it clean, keep it kind of a, JDM, simple kind of a look, and at the same time, be able to put down some pretty good power on the street. So at some point I'd like to get it to the track, see what it'll do in the quarter mile, but really this is built to be a street car. I want to be able to go out and take on some stuff that's out there just cruising around on the regular, and I think it's really making some good power. So that's my update for now, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get back to work on it. If you got any questions, just say something down in the comment area, and I'll try to get some more content posted. If you guys would subscribe to the channel, and that'll help motivate me to put out some more content. But anyways, take care, and like I said, let me know if you got any questions. Bye.